Welcome to Stars Launch Pod, where we chat with innovators who are overcoming challenges, pushing boundaries, and collaborating to make space more accessible and sustainable for humanity, one launch at a time.
It's one small step for man.
Here's your host, Susan Wise.
Welcome to Stars Launch Pod, space, technology, and research sciences brought to you by starsciences.org, where we connect, collaborate, and accelerate. I'm your host, Susan Wise, and thrilled to have with us today a fellow podcaster, Kevin Simmons, Aerospace and Innovation Academy. Hi, and welcome to the show.
Morning, Susan, and thank you for having me here.
Great. Kevin, tell us a little bit more about what you do and what you're currently working on to further the space industry.
Thank you, Susan. While I started out in a STEM career field, I was a biochemist. After I'd worked in industry for a while and I'd done a lot of research, I ended up becoming an educator because of some circumstances at my daughter's school. And I had been downsized and I realized the military and industry and research had prepared me to work with students. So once I had become an educator, I immediately brought in entrepreneurship into the classroom and started companies that my students could staff so that they could get real world experience. Now, if you fast forward about 25 years, how people think you become an overnight success when they don't see the first 20 years. Today, I have 4 companies that I have founded or co-founded that are all sort of revolved around aerospace and education and providing unique and distinct opportunities for kids before they graduate high school so they can do authentic and hands-on aerospace.
Are we talking like grade school students or like in a junior high, high school?
You know, that's a great question. I think what's more important than the chronological age is the maturity and the interest of the student. Because as you know, some 18-year-olds, they're not very motivated or interested in a particular area, but we often have 10 and 11-year-olds that are just on fire. They know what they want. They have a maturity that exceeds their chronological age. I have an 11-year-old in California who manages some of my websites. You know, he's a webmaster. We've had kids as young as 11 design printed circuit boards for some of our satellites, and students 11 to 18, my primary age group I work with, they presented 110 technical papers in 9 countries since 2018.
That's amazing. So yeah, it's not so much about the age, but how much they're really into it and inspired by it.
Yes. Yes. If they're, as an educator, what you really want, I think the best group you can work with are the students that are internally motivated, right? So when you find a student that knows what they want, if you can just provide opportunities for them and sort of help them learn what is ahead, they can far exceed the expectations. The kids have been so successful that I think we really have fought ageism as much as anything because it's not expected, right? A 12-year-old stands up at a podium in Dubai and presents a paper that was accepted. And the audience goes, why is this kid here? But once they start speaking, if they know and they prepared and their paper was of quality that it was accepted, then everybody's like, okay, they belong.
It's a Doogie Howser.
The goal is, yes. Well, and it really isn't, it's not about, I do have some kids with, let's say, high IQs. And also I have a lot of kids on the spectrum because they're quirky, right? And they're creative. And it really isn't, you must be gifted to be in this lane. What you really need to be is motivated and interested, right? So when you find those kids that have a passion that align with yours, it's very easy to get a lot of good things done with them.
I'm sure you've had challenges along the way. What has been your biggest challenge and how did you overcome it?
So I have in Florida, I'm certified to teach a number of subjects, physics, chemistry, et cetera, biology, earthspace. But I also have a gifted endorsement. So I really, I can give you probably 3 challenges. One is overcoming the sort of institutional inertia around how do we prepare kids to be good citizens and 21st century STEM workforce, right? How do we prepare kids to be able to take on the jobs that will exist when they are ready to go to work? And how do we help them learn how the real world works as far as STEM industries? That's one, overcome the inertia. Two is, how do I identify and find these students and keep a program going when I have kids from multiple states, multiple countries, but the concentrated mass is here in South Florida? How do I keep them engaged in hands-on work when they're so geographically distributed? And the third and most important challenge is simply fundraising, right? I'm a principal investigator on a number of small satellites that the kids have built and we've launched. And I promise I spend more time trying to secure the funding so that these brilliant kids can do enjoyable things. I'd say those are my three biggest challenges that come to mind.
So, Kevin, what has been your biggest aha moment?
Well, I'd say there are two kinds of aha moments, but the first is what happens in the classroom when you're helping a student understand a concept that a lot of adults think, well, that child can't understand that, that's too advanced or whatnot. But the moment they figure out something that they did not previously understand, and it just makes sense to them, and they're like, I get this. Because a lot of times when I talk to kids and I introduce new content, they'll say, I can't do this. This is too hard. And then I have to remind them, you can't do this right now, but you are going to be able to do this. And you need to have multiple exposures to it. And no one expects you to be an expert having been exposed to something brand new for 10 minutes.
Right.
What that really leans into is the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset. So I'm a big believer that you must let the cheetahs run fast, right? And that kids often, we put limits on them because of either, what's terrible is when a teacher doesn't understand the content, so they're not passionate about it. And kids immediately recognize if an educator isn't passionate about their subject. So that's one kind of aha moment, when a child really gets something that previously stumped them, right? And their eyes get big and they're like, I got this. This makes sense. The second, of course, is when you have built your kids, my students, we were at the right place at the right time. We were the first middle school that NASA chose to build a CubeSat. So I'm standing there in California at Vandenberg, and I see the Falcon 9 takeoff that carries the first satellite built by a middle school. So that's like that moment that can never be taken away, that you got to be the very first to do something. And the lives that were impacted, I think, by the students who worked on that mission is remarkable.
Amazing. What one piece of advice would you like to share with our listeners today?
I think that, we live in tumultuous times, to say the least, but I think not being afraid to be risk tolerant is one thing. People, the older they get, they seem to be more risk adverse, but being risk tolerant is one thing I can highly recommend. Second, I teach my kids that we all die on a hill, right? I'm using a military sort of metaphor. We all die on a hill. Make sure that your hill counts, right? You should never die on the hill that is, I don't want to do my homework, or I want to cut up in class, or something lame like that. I said, choose the fights that you choose should be principled. And if you lose, even though you are doing the right thing, that's okay. So I think that's the advice I want kids to get. It's so hard, especially like middle school. They want to all be clicked, they want to be in their groups, but helping them understand it will be okay if you have to stand by yourself if you're doing the right thing. So trying to help kids understand principles in addition to becoming, great scientists, engineers, and lawyers, and technicians and whatnot. I think that's the best advice I can give them.
Great advice. Thank you, Kevin. Let's talk a little bit about your passion project. Would that be the Wolf Pack and this conference coming up?
Yes. So I have a number of these companies that kids get their experience through. You initially, we spoke about the Aerospace and Innovation Academy. That is sort of our umbrella group, which includes our Wolf Pack. which is a 501c3, but the Aerospace and Innovation Academy is where we do our professional development and teacher training and summer camps and a lot of tutoring or coaching. And then the Wolfpack is a tax exempt, nonprofit, so we can secure money for hardware, right? All the money in the checking account for Wolfpack is for satellite parts.
Right.
And the Wolfpack CubeSat development team is something I'm so proud of because we started it during COVID, because I was at a school that did not want me to include students from other schools, even kids that had been on the team that graduated. So it was an after school club.
Mhm.
And I said, well, we need to do this is, there are too many kids that could benefit from this. So that's why the Wolfpack came into being. So the Wolfpack students and I, for years, had gone to a huge conference in Utah called SmallSat, the SmallSat conference, small satellite. But it was too expensive for kids to go for a week to Utah. And so what an engineer, Kevin Johnson, who works at Blue Origin now at the Space Coast, he and I were doing advocacy for Space Day in Tallahassee, and we met. And we said, let's build this kind of event on the East Coast so that local kids who might not be able to afford to go to Utah can get the benefit. So Kennedy Space Center is the logical location, and we're in our 4th year. The Small Set Education Conference, we hold it the last weekend in October. We invite a lot of college teams and companies and Space Force and NASA. And so the weekend is organized into some technical presentations, about 40 of those. We have about 6 workshops, hands-on workshops. We also have an exhibit hall where companies and universities can share, with the students. And then we intentionally kept the cost of the conference super low for educators and students. So I think this year we charge less than $45 for a student or an educator to come to a day-and-a-half conference inside Kennedy Space Center.
Now, if they wanted to find out more information about this event going on, where would you send us?
Oh, I would send you to our conference site, smallsateducation.org.
All right.
And we're really happy. We have 2 great keynotes this year. One is the professor that I first learned about CubeSats from at UF, Dr. Fitzcoy. And second is one of my second favorite astronaut. He's a former NASA administrator, Charlie Bolden. So, we're so looking forward to having him. And we think it'll be a great opportunity. We know we have folks from several countries coming because we've written the visa letters for them. Their papers were accepted. We have 14 young ladies from a California CubeSat team, high school students that are coming. So we're just so excited to provide another opportunity for young people that know they want to be somewhere in the aerospace industry.
Love that. Kevin, thank you so much for sharing your passion project, your mission, your story. It's very inspiring and it's motivating for young ones. And we thank you so much for that. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Susan. I enjoyed our conversation.
Be sure to join us where we connect, collaborate, and accelerate. We'd like to invite you to join us at starsciences.org. You can receive a free 1-year membership. Just enter the promo code FRIENDS321. Kevin Simmons, Aerospace and Innovation Academy, thank you again for joining us on LaunchPod. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode, leave us a review and subscribe. And until next time, keep looking up.
Don't miss an episode. Subscribe on your favorite streaming platform. Watch us on YouTube and follow us on social media. Stars LaunchPod, propelling us forward, one launch at a time.